want to understand from your perspective, what do you make of India now somehow managing to put together the puzzle pieces for what self-reliance will be all about? Your first thoughts on this grand launch by the Prime Minister today?
It's quite poetic because it was Maruti which started the journey for self-reliance in automobiles per se. Before that, we obviously had Ambassador and we had Fiat, but they were dated technologies. So Maruti came in with new technologies, and then we launched the PLI scheme, where the more the indigenization is happening in automobiles, the lesser the tariff would be, and we guided the industry towards one of the largest and most vibrant, and using the word Atmanirbhar in today's context, the most Atmanirbhar of large industries in the country. Automobiles is about 20% of any economy because of the amount of steel it consumes, the amount of glass it consumes, and so on and so forth. So being Atmanirbhar in such a large part of the Indian economy is absolutely stupendous to be in. Now, the second disconnect or second break that happened after we became Atmanirbhar in the automobile industry is becoming Atmanirbhar in the electric vehicle industry. Now, obviously, we've got brilliant car makers, we've got the Mahindras and Tatas and so on, who have launched EV vehicles. But when we talk about Atmanirbhar, we're talking about a large part of the supply chain being within the country. And obviously, when we talk about EV, it's the issue of batteries that we're talking about, because a large component and large part of the battery is still getting imported. I'll not go into the dynamics of the battery or the chemistry differences, but it is we are not able to build those batteries at scale, at the right price within our country. And clearly, it is dominated by just one other country in the world. It's China, where the rest of the world is getting their batteries from. And therefore, with Suzuki coming out with their own gigafactory for batteries, and in the process, tying up with Toyota to do that, which is a project they kicked off, if I recollect, in around 2017-ish, because I was personally involved in helping out in the financials of that particular project. And I think it's a journey of about 7 years that they have been at it, and they have been able to build up finally the battery and the plant and the car itself, which is absolutely an outstanding achievement for India as a country, because now we are truly Atmanirbhar in terms of the entire supply chain. Having said that, we should also keep in mind that there are still components which are critical, which we do not have full control of. But given that Maruti/Suzuki is dominating 40% of the world's third largest automobile market, which is India, it is a very good pole position from where Maruti is operating. There is no other market in the world where such a dominant position is captured by one single player. And therefore, it is a great advantage that Maruti/Suzuki has, because it gives them the economies of scale needed to be able to invest backward and be able to be Atmanirbhar in these technologies that we are talking about. And hence, the fact that they have taken the bold step forward, invested significant amount of money, they're also promising to invest 70,000 crores more, are very, very positive signals for the Indian industry, the automobile industry as a whole, and specifically for Suzuki as a company.
Just to also understand, how does this help offset some of the problems that we're expected to now face as far as the Trump tariffs are concerned? Is this something that's going to help the automobile sector, because that is one of the sectors that's expected to face some heat as far as the tariffs are concerned? So in your mind, do these sort of steps help offset the threat of tariffs?
Well, obviously, the impact of the Trump tariffs are complex. Bulk of our automobile export to US was basically automobile parts and components. We were not exporting that many fully built automobiles in that sense. Neither do we exporting that many motorbikes. It was more of our component players who were dominant in US. Having said that, being able to increase capacity and therefore the economies of scale will help us reduce our cost and therefore help us find alternate markets. Now, it will help Suzuki to find alternate markets the world over, but the impact of the Trump tariffs is on many other sectors, which includes gems, jewelries, textiles, and so on. So yes, as an economy, India will be able to find other markets where we can start exporting automobiles. But when we look at each sector that is getting impacted, um, this particular step will probably not have that much of an impact because it doesn't have an impact on textiles unless we're talking about technical textiles. It won't have an impact on gems and jewelry and so on and so forth. But this gives the capability and the capacity for us to grow and find new markets, as I said. Also, it is very interesting to note that that Suzuki exports more cars from India into its home country, which is Japan, than the other way around. In fact, Suzuki is one of the largest exporters of cars to the world because it exports a large number of these cars back to Japan. And many of the products that were developed in India, designed in India, manufactured in India are a big hit in Japan. And Japan is a very finicky car country, and therefore, if it's a hit in Japan, then clearly these products will find place in other large markets which are significant and would make a difference to our automobile industry.
Okay, Mr. Kapoor, I want to bring you back because Japan Suzuki Motor has also announced that it will be investing around 70,000 crore rupees in India over the next 5 to 6 years. Now, that's a crucial investment that's going to be coming into India. But we're also at a juncture where there is a lot of debate about really making sure that our population, especially our working population, is ready to take on the challenge. When we say that we want more and more foreign companies to further invest in India, obviously Suzuki has been investing in India for a long time, but we want more and more companies from abroad to come into India. While the government can prepare the physical infrastructure for them, there is a need for solid manpower on ground as well. How do we, in a way, now also simultaneously focus on preparing a population that can really make most of all these investment opportunities and employment opportunities that will come into India, hopefully in the next few years?
Yeah, I think first we need to see why Suzuki is moving into India with 70,000 crores of investment. It's cheaper to manufacture cars in India, that was already proven. It is also cheaper to design cars in India. It is cheaper to prototype cars in India. And therefore, it is cheaper for the entire life cycle management of a car in India. In fact, this is something that possibly the Japanese should be a little worried about because Japanese companies are finding it better to invest into India for a full life cycle of vehicles. So having said that, uh, is the attraction a large manpower? The answer is yes, but in addition to that, it's also a large trained manpower. Although we keep saying that many of our engineers are not hireable and so on, the fact that they are exposed to engineering concepts, even though they may not grasp the full concepts, they turn out to be very good shop floor workers. In fact, Bajaj was one of the pioneers when they made sure that all of their shop floor workers are engineers, and then came out the iconic Bajaj Pulsar, which was manufactured by engineers. And therefore, are we on the right track or not? Do we have enough manpower? Now, as of now, we've got enough manpower to attract entities which are comfortable with India. Now, it took Suzuki about 50 years to be comfortable with India, or 40 years to be comfortable with India. But as we look at the next generation of technologies and next generation of manufacturing, clearly we need to up our skills. In fact, the co-panelist Arun was talking about the correct use of language and therefore upping the expectation from the population. It is not good enough to get a stamp that one is an engineer. It is important that we understand the basic engineering concepts, that we are able to operate on our own. We don't need a manual. We can create those manuals. And I'm not talking about jugaad, right? By creating manuals, I mean we should be able to create the technology, which is the science plus the engineering together, and being able to create markets out of these new products. And therefore, as we all know, that is not what our education system is churning out, unfortunately. It is heartening to see the current government work quite furiously on it, but we need to hasten up the pace because with every passing generation, with every passing child and student coming out of the colleges, we are losing out one less skilled individual in that sense. And in the new world, we will not be able to compete if we have less skilled individuals. We need to have absolutely cutting edge individuals coming out. And therefore, a lot needs to be done to scale up the human resource that we have, especially the STEM human resource, which is science, technology, engineering, and maths. We need that kind of human resource to be able to man our factories, to be able to create new technologies, and to be able to create new markets, which will attract new investors, and we will therefore be able to be in the cutting edge of industries globally.
Right, absolutely. On that note, I've completely run out of time, and I thank all of our guests for joining us to take this conversation forward. We step into a very short break.